welcome everyone once again. Um so we have a couple of very great people ready to speak with us. So firstly, I would like to introduce Mr. Dipil Kumar Vasu, sir. Sir is a director and lead consultant of Team Tech EHS. He's an environmental health and safety consultant with nearly 14 years of experience, and he has worked with lot of MNCs like Aditya Birla Group, Ford, and Vedanta Resources. So Dipil sir is a certified management specialist from Board of Certified Safety Professionals, USA. Uh, so that's something about Dipil sir. So I would like Dipil sir to talk now and introduce Colonel Amal Bindra sir. As sir know more about Amal Bindra ji than me. Yeah, sir, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Ganesh. So, very good evening, one and all in the call. Thanks for joining on a Saturday evening. So, thanks, Ganesh and team, I would say, for this wonderful organizing a mental health webinar series, which they called it as Mansi. So, really appreciate. Thanks for the invite to me and Colonel Amar Bindra. So, let me talk a bit about Colonel Amar Bindra. So I know this great personality, I think, from the past 10 to 12 years. So I was fortunate enough to attend one of Colonel Amar Bindra's training session, which was named as Facilitation Skills for the Train the Trainers program, which was organized by my employer at that time. It was Ultratech Cement, Aditya Birla Group company, which was situated in Jaipur, Rajasthan. So that 3 days training program of Colonel Amar Bindra was really a kind of a life-changing program for me. That gives awesome, the kind of, I would say, that gives me a lot of courage to stand in front of my audience going forward. I was able to give training even to my leadership team while I was in an organization like Ultratech at that point. And the training which I received from Colonel Amar Bindra, influenced that a lot. So that is where my relation started with Colonel. And then when in 2019, when I started my organization, I contacted Amar Bindra that, Colonel, why can't you help me to improve, some of the soft skills which is required on the EHS professionals and things like that. And we joined hands together, and he was more than happy to offer his support. And we done, I think, more than 10 programs in the last year. And it was well received by the industries and professional across various sectors. And we are looking forward to do a lot of programs together, and still we are working together. So that is Colonel Amar Bindra for you. So a wonderful coach, a facilitator, and more than that, a person to whom you can always approach, and you will definitely get the right solutions. So with this, warm welcome, Colonel Bindra, and over to you. Please take us through the topic of today, which is how we can handle fear, procrastination, and addictions during this pandemic time. So thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you, Dipil. Jai Hind, that's the normal Fauji way of greeting for a colonel to good afternoon people. I also see Amey Kadam here. Amey is a very consistent follower on LinkedIn, very active, and I welcome him warmly, of course. And there are lots of others whom I know and they know me. However, one thing I want to mention before we really go into the subject is that I joined the army very young. Yes, like Dipil is very proudly the shirt of Team Tech. I'm wearing the shirt of National Defense Academy, Kadakwasla. It's at the age of 16 that you join this august institution. They call it the cradle of leadership. And a young boy who wants to join the National Defense Academy amongst 3 lakh boys who appear for the exam, and only 350 or 300 make it in today's date and time. If he has no fear, then he's either a liar or he's confused. There is fear in every part of every step of the journey that a young man takes. Most of you belong to a generation where either you're confused or you're afraid. It's not a bad sign at all. It's a sign of progress. It's a sign that you care, and you care for yourself. Fear is an indication. Fear is an opportunity. This afternoon, we are going to discuss. This is not a training program. This is not even a webinar. This is a dialogue between you guys and me. There are some very experienced people on the call, so I'm not saying everyone is a Generation Z or a millennial. However, the talk is primarily designed, the discussion is primarily around the young generation, Generation Z onwards. If I speak of what Mansi is driving home to you, tremendous, these two young people, two youngsters who have the backbone of steel, Ganesh Talam and Pramod Singh, one sitting right now in Andhra Pradesh in Kadapa town and other sitting in Arunachal Pradesh. They have squeezed the world into their palm of the passion and technology. They're talking of your mental health. And that is one toll which has taken a toll on you, even if you have been COVID negative. Mental health is the primary driver which can make in you a very flourishing professional, even in the field of safety, environment, and health. Mental health is before anything else. This afternoon, our discussion is about 2-3 things. A, about fear. Ganesh said, let's talk of depression. I said, depression is a manifestation of fear. So let's talk of the basic roots of depression and fear. And then the fruits of not handling fear. I would call it fruit because even the bitter fruit is a fruit. Are some things which are called procrastination, it's a habit, and then of course getting into some addiction. Is addiction only about drugs? Perhaps not. What we need to understand is some opportunities on this call where the gyan is not going to come from me. I'm not here to give you any gyan. I'm a colonel who left the army about 23, 24 years back and joined the corporate world. I'm not even tired. How can I be retired? So I'm not a retired colonel. I'm very much a vibrant human being like all of you. And I bring on the table the opportunity to converse with me, to engage with me through this beautiful platform that we are all united on. So you have a full liberty to put something on the chat. You have full liberty to raise your hand. If at all we don't give you a chance to speak, we promise you that Ganesh is keeping a very close vigilant on the chat, and he will make sure that he gives you a chance to speak. And if you are very vehement about some point, we don't even mind if you unmute yourself. But remember, unmuting yourself has to be a very mindful activity. Ganesh, is my language and my speed of speaking acceptable to you?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. It's fine, sir.
My fluency in Hindi is the same as in English, but I'm not using Hindi purposely because I know most of you are from that part of the country where you may not be that comfortable with Hindi. So I take it that all of you are very, very comfortable with English. So I'm continuing with English. So one of the best soldiers, undoubtedly the best soldier India has ever produced is Field Marshal Manekshaw, the hero of the 71 war. And if you have not heard of him, you are not an Indian. You need to Google Field Marshal Manekshaw. There's a story about Manekshaw as a young company commander against the Japanese forces during the Second World War. And you know, he was commanding Sikh troops, though he's a Gorkha officer. And he says, if a person says he has no fear, either he has to be a liar or he has to be a Gorkha. So that's what he says about fear. So his own story about fear is a little interesting story, which I will tell you in short. So in the Second World War, when he was commanding this as a major, a body of Sardars, 100% Sardars. So Sardar's troops are not very easy to handle, and they have to be handled very, very firmly. So there was this chap, one Singh soldier, and he was very disobedient. He would be a badmash in the sense that he would beat up someone after a couple of pegs of rum and all. He was promoted a couple of times, but every time was promoted as a two-striper, you know, corporal called Nayak. He had to be de-striped after a couple of days because he would do such a thing. So one fine day, again, there was a time for having a promotion cadre. Promotion cadre means a discussion that who all should be put through promotion for training. And the commanding officer asked his company commander, Manekshaw, should we consider this chap? He's quite senior. Manekshaw said, no way, sir. This chap, every time you give him a promotion, he gets depromoted after 15 days because of his behavior. So after this conference, when he went back to his tent and he went back to his company, there was a lot of silence. Normally, Sikh troops are very vibrant in the evening. So there was a lot of tension. He called his Subedar, his number 2 man, and asked him, what is this silence about? He says, you don't know. That guy has taken a vow that he wants to kill you tonight. The guy whom you have superseded for promotion wants to kill you tonight. Call him. Sir, his pistol has been taken and he has been sort of kept an eye on. Said, call him. Give me his pistol. So Manekshaw gave him his pistol, loaded the bullets and told him, तुम मुझे मारना चाहते हो? Come, मुझे मारो. Kill me. That soldier said, नहीं गलती हो गया साहब. I didn't want to kill you. So Manekshaw now gathered more courage and he says, okay, आपके लिए ये सजा है कि tonight you will be the sentry on my tent. Give him back his arms. He will be the sentry outside my tent. His Subedar called him aside and told him, sir, what are you doing? This chap hasn't given up his resolve to kill you. He says, not only will this guy guard my tent, he will bring me a nice mug of tea in the morning and hot water for shaving. And sure enough, whole night passed and in the morning, that guy got in sincerely the mug for shaving and a hot cup of tea. Life went on. But the Subedar Major asked him, Subedar asked Manekshaw, sir, tell me honestly, were you not scared? He says, I was so scared the whole night, I didn't sleep a wink. So fear is a natural phenomenon of leadership, but you can't have the fear be havi on you to capture you. You have to capture the fear so that the fear doesn't show on others. And you are in charge of fear and fear is not in charge of you. With these thoughts, I would like to introduce my screen and let me see. Okay. Can you see my screen, Ganesh?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, all good.
So the first question that I want to reflect upon is, how are you feeling? Before that, the agenda, of course, I've said the introduction, the ground rules, I'll tell you, handling fear, procrastination, addictions. Question and answer session will give you full session, and we are, of course, the 2 people whom you have already met. Dipil in his own right is ensuring the safety even in this session, and he breathes, eats, and his DNA is safety. So the first part is, of course, the ground rules. I have already told them to you. Mainly participate actively through multiple activities. There are some activities. Focus and please ensure that you are seated in a space which is free from distraction. Please mute your audio. You can unmute when you are required to speak. Whenever you want to put on your camera also, we have no problems, but camera might take your bandwidth. Feel free to ask questions and engage with your views through chat, live questions. Respect the program schedule. We have a schedule for the program. Let's not engage in very, very long questions, long discussions. We can be offline and we can, come to me or to Dipil. This session is being recorded and your attendance will be deemed as your consent. So that sets the rules and the balls rolling. One very important aspect is just like I shared an example of Manekshaw. Similarly, appropriate examples will be shared with you. Apply those examples to the opportunities in your own work life. That's the best part of reflection. When you pause, you think, you learn, and you apply. And that is what we are recommending in these COVID times as your wonderful, wonderful learning skill. So let's have a poll to begin with. The question is, how are you feeling? How are you feeling right now? Think of a word which describes your feeling and you participate in a poll. You could type www.menti.com in your browser, just like you use the Google, you use any other browser. Type www.menti.com. They will ask for a code. Code is given here. Otherwise, you could quickly scan this QR code through your camera. And the question will be, how are you feeling? Please describe in 1 or 2 words, how are you feeling right now?
And the third option, you can also click the link which has been sent in the chat, and you can write that one word or two word.
Thank you, Dipil.
Yeah.
22082398. Today we are a double whammy. That is Dipil plus Colonel 1 plus 1 free. So we have double code also. So I don't know whether the other code is there or not. Okay. But anyway, so here we are. Let's see if anybody's given their feelings. Oh, happy, awesome, and relaxed. Very good. We have 3 people, 2 people, but one person giving 2 options. Very good, very good. Let's hear some natural reactions from you guys. And this is the power of technology, where you can express your feelings without even speaking them, just reflecting and writing. Whoever is unmuted are requested to mute yourself.
Can you refresh again? Refresh again. There is around 7 people already participating.
All right. Okay. Let me do that. But I was just focusing on who is not muted. I was wondering that. Yeah. So in the meanwhile, yes, there are more responses. If you can't really, okay, there it is. 10 people now. A beautiful cloud appearing on the horizon. There is a variation from ecstasy to a little confusion. There is relaxation and there is calm. There is a repetition of awesomeness, but the primary emotion that is driving this particular group so far is excitement, happiness, and energy. So let me reload once again. I once again request all of you to come on this poll. Let us know how you are feeling. So we have 11 people and excited. There might be confusion. There might be overwhelmed. But you have made a choice right now. A choice to get connected with your emotions and express your feelings. And that is the first step towards mental health in COVID times. To get connected with your own emotions. Emotion is energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. And when you can articulate your feelings, you are in a position to identify other people's feelings. Today, in these challenging times, people are not leading their lives with rationality. They are leading their life with emotionality. And you might be feeling very excited, very happy. But can we say what COVID is causing? COVID might be causing emotions which are contrary to the emotions that you have expressed right now, restricted, away from family, loss of life, no help, multitasking, confined, child care not possible, lack of supplies, uncertainty, no end in sight, sad, panic, viral spreading, vaccine shortage, overwhelmed, lonely, depression, anxiety, distance. These are just few of the many feelings and challenges some of us might be facing right now. Now see the contrast, what you expressed in the Menti poll and what my slide shows. Any thoughts? Any volunteers on why this contrast? What is the reality? What is the truth? Any thoughts on this contrast, please? Let me go back to the group and ask you guys. Yes. Any volunteers? Any raise of hands? Anybody would like to volunteer? Yes. Let's go to ITES Enterprises. I don't know your name, sir. Sorry, your name, sir?
Sudhir Avalgaonkar.
Sudhir. Oh, Sudhir, sir. I think I've met you earlier. Sudhir.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good. Of course, Sudhir. You are an old friend. I don't know why I missed you. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to tell you one thing. Before,
yes, sir.
I was in the Nasik in the morning at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And I rushed to Aurangabad. I had work in Aurangabad. So
Okay.
I came to Aurangabad very fast. Usually I don't drive that fast, just to ensure that I be on this call right in the time.
Thank you so much. Really feel honored So what are your thoughts, Sudhir, on this particular aspect of the contrast that I showed you in
Yeah,
the two
probably
sets of you?
people are afraid because, yeah, that's the only thing I can. Many a time, what happens is, out of my own experience, when these questions are asked in the public, then probably a polished answer goes.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
Okay. Is there anything, Sudhir, I have a counter question for you to reflect on.
Yeah.
Is it really wrong to express in public what people have expressed?
It is not wrong, but then people are afraid of the correct answers.
So that's the million-dollar question I want you to think about, Sudhir. What is the correct answer? In the meanwhile, we'll go to Raghu Chakravarti. Raghuvaran Chakravarti. Thank you, Sudhir. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. He's my friend.
Yeah, so the way I look at it, I mean, pre-COVID, and definitely we will be in post-COVID as well, the situations, the way people looking at it and handling it, they don't know the future. They cannot predict that future. So that is the problem. It caused everything. I would say worried instead of fear. The reason is like in past, we came through lot of challenges, but we can't predict the future. We know what's in front of us. Any challenges in our day-to-day life, we know what we are going to face tomorrow or in 10 days time. But in this COVID situation, we don't know what's coming next. So that is the biggest worry everyone has. And that leads to so much confusions, and the people worried about making decisions. Like 10 years before, I never worried about anything. I will make a decision. If I want to move forward with something, I will make a decision. I move forward because I know how the market is and what's coming next, those kind of things and opportunities. But now we are in the situation we cannot make decisions right away because we cannot predict the future. For example, the college students finishing up the college in last 2 years time, they worried they cannot make decisions right away because they cannot predict the future. The self-confidence is low and nobody is telling them what's coming next because nobody cannot predict the future. So that's how I see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raghu. That's very useful what you've said. And what I got from you is this, the very fact that it's the unpredictability of the future time. So the thought I want to leave you with is, should we think only of possibilities? Possibility is a binary function, possible or not possible. Or can I consider some probabilities? Tell you a story. A small child asked his papa. Thank you, Raghu. I got your point, but we'll come back to you soon. So small boy, 5 years old, asked his papa, how will a rabbit eat an elephant? Papa said, sorry, son, impossible. A rabbit can never eat an elephant. He says, Papa, poppy shame. Rabbit will eat elephant by doing kit. He eats the carrot as kit. He'll forget that whether it is an elephant or a carrot. So the idea of when we break up the possibilities into probabilities, you have, as an engineer, as a scientific person, as a corporate leader, you are also going into how much it is probable, how much risk I should take, where is my COVID behavior taking a compromise and a hit, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about it a little later, but Ganesh Talam has raised his hand. Yes, Ganesh, go on.
Yeah, sir. There is another statement popped up in chat window.
Yeah.
It's by Mr. Ashish Deshmukh. He's saying we acclimatized with COVID-19 as a new normal in the last 15 months.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashish. In the meanwhile, I also make it a point to welcome a very young friend of mine, Mayank. Mayank has joined us here. Mayank is a stalwart in attending such programs. He's located in HMEL factory. This is his first job. He's been a participant of GETs of mine program, but he's responsible for making me join Toastmasters Club. So I welcome him here, and he has seen a little bit of this program in Hindi. Today he's seeing it in English. All right, and let me take you to these two variation in our feelings. You have a stimulus. A stimulus is a WhatsApp message. That the third wave is inevitable. Okay. Third wave is knocking on your door. Third wave, Delta variant, will be so lethal that no vaccination in the world can give you foolproof answer. I'm only exaggerating. Huh? Please don't go by it. Now, this is a stimulus. Now you have a response to it. Now, where does the response come from? Which part of the body is at play? Yes, Sudhir, which is that organ of the body which comes into play when you get a stimulus? You have to unmute yourself, sir. You are mute.
I was slightly distracted. So come again.
Okay. No problem. Somebody disturbed you, not your fault. Okay. So, supposing you get on the WhatsApp, the message which is doing these days is COVID wave 3 is coming. And you respond to that. That's a stimulus response. I'm only asking a very simple question. Which organ of the body is giving that stimulus? Which is the organ which comes into play when we get a stimulus and we give a response?
We have 3 responses in chat, Colonel, and it says brain.
Brain.
Who said that? Thank you, Sudhir. And who's that on the chat? Who said it is?
Sanjay, Grishma, and Ashish.
Oh, thank you so much. So, friends, you're right. One part which differentiates human beings from animals is the brain. And brain is not only unique, not only complex, but it has a non-linear growth in the human life. It does not grow like other organs. For example, at the time of birth, the infant, the baby, has the weight of the brain commensurately higher than disproportionate to the rest of the parts of the body. And as far as the development of the brain is, in the first 5 or 6 or 7 years, it's developed in a very big, by the age of about 18, 19, or maybe early 20s, the brain is fully developed. A lot of other parts of the body are still developing. So brain is unique in its construction and its function. It's made of billions, 100+ billions of neurons, small particles. And each neuron is connected to the other neuron by an algorithm. I hope my language is acceptable to those who are non-science and commerce. I don't think there are many people here. Algorithm is like an equation. And now some of these algorithms get hardwired. And that is the problem with us in COVID times. Our algorithms, which are hardwired, irrespective of the stimulus, the hardwire gives the same response. And that starts the problem of a person when he doesn't know how to separate that hardwiring. Knowledge is not learning. You read a book, you are only knowledgeable, but you are not learned. You are learned when you change the hardwiring. And today time has come for us to change the hardwiring which we have inside us. Because whatever hardwiring existed all these years is not applicable anymore. All the algorithms do not hold good. Every day, Dipil and his team are inventing and understanding new regulations. That which worked so hard, so far, will not get. What got you here will not take you there. So why is it so difficult to break this hardwiring? It is the control of the brain again, the construction of the brain again. Let us go to the brain. Any immediate questions in whatever I have said so far? Any questions on the chat? Okay. So let me take you to my slide about the brain. So here we are. So there are 2 sets of emotions which are coming through my last 2 slides. One which I captured from you and one with data which I brought with me. One is called fear, doubt, and hate to survive. I can't predict the future. I can't take a decision. Life is not in my hands anymore. This is to survive. I can only survive if I have fear, doubt. Hate is not very appropriate, but hate here means my hate for the reason which has caused this COVID. My hate for the source. Is it a bacteria or is it a biological weapon? I am not too sure. But then when I showed you the Menti polls and somebody said, Sudhir says, no, perhaps people are not so honest. But what is it so wrong if they express hope, love and faith to thrive? Do you choose to be just surviving or do you choose to be thriving? These two emotions, these two sets of emotions inside your brain actually lead a manifestation of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, what does that mean? Our mind works so that one set is capable of replacing and consuming the other. It is often a vicious cycle. That means fear, doubt, and hate. If I stick to this, this will consume this. But if I focus on hope, love, and faith, this particular emotion will thrive and it will consume this to produce more hope. A typical example can be seen of the shape of the whirlwind. You know, there is whirlwind in the air and there is a water pool in the water. The shape is the same. One takes a twig to much higher than the law of gravity and the law of centrifugal force can apply, and the other can pull a body which floats so well deep inside the ocean. Is exactly the same. The shape and the impact is similar, yet so dissimilar. What's the reason? It is this organ called the brain, the human brain. The stimulus and the response, which comes often the same as called the hardwiring, and often the different because we choose to have it different. There are two very important parts of the brain, besides the billions of neurons that you have, which are connected with algorithms. There is something called the emotion part, and there is something called the logic part. Let's not confuse with scientific names, though there is a scientific name. The emotional control center is called amygdala. For ease, we will call it Naughty Nandu. We will not call it amygdala, scientific name. We will call it, in Hindi we say Natkhat Nandu. In English we will say Naughty Nandu. Naughty Nandu is a control center in the brain. When you get a WhatsApp, his response is emotion, fear, third wave coming. You have escaped so far, now you going to get it. And yet there is another control center, which is called neocortex. Let's give it a simple name, wise Birbal. Birbal from the court of Emperor Akbar. He talks of rationale, he talks of logic, and based on rationale and logic, you develop hope. Now the question is, whenever there is a stimulus, both Naughty Nandu as well as wise Birbal simultaneously give a response to the same stimulus. Who do you think has the veto? Who has the overriding power? Would anybody like to tell me? Sudhir? Who do you think has the veto?
Obviously, Birbal.
Oh, Birbal has the veto. Well, Sudhir, you need to be corrected.
Okay.
God has given us a very powerful control center called Natkhat Nandu. Because Natkhat Nandu, the naughty Nandu, saves our life when we are crossing a road and a car is coming at full speed. He says, save yourself. And you manage to get out of the car. Birbal says, see your speed, see the speed of the car, see the traveling speed. Why are you worried? So, this guy is not always the villain, but yet he's a weakness. So, but he has the veto. That's the way God has designed us. that we are emotional beings first and not rational beings later. And that is why the animal instinct in us is governed by Nandu. Birbal, poor chap, is not heard when there is an emotional situation. Small things irritate us. Small commotion leads to escalation. Nothing wrong in it. But at the same time, an SHE professional like my friend Dipil here says, well, if you can take care of your personal protective equipment, if you can make sure that you use the right harness and the right height to manage the fall, well, you may not get hurt. So this tussle requires us to break our hard wiring. Nandu always wants hard wiring. Fight or flight. Birbal says, every situation has got many probabilities. Let us discuss the probabilities. So since God has made Nandu powerful, our job today is for our mental health to make Birbal more powerful. And how can we make Birbal more powerful? We can make him more powerful by three things. Number one, new insights. Some reading, some inputs from Dipil, some inputs, what my friend Ganesh and his team is putting across to me. Then from these insights, I make a process. That is step number two, process. A process of my safety, a process of my calmness. And the third and the most important aspect to make new cortex very powerful is the new experience. We must get into new experiences to get over fear and calm ourselves. And that is why, whether it is Sadhguru Jaggi or whether it is Shri Shri, they are both or all spiritual people are asking us to start the day with spirituality of some yoga, some meditation, some mindfulness. So the first thought which comes is, can we control the emotion of fear generated by my amygdala, by my Natkat Nandu, who is absolutely an inseparable part of my persona, by making a very powerful Birbal, who with my imagination, with my logic, develops a hope in me. Friends, even animals have Nandu. Only human beings have wise Birbal. So if we are going to behave like animals, then what is the great thing about human beings being special creation? If there are any questions, I'm willing to take them on now. Otherwise, I'll go and talk a little bit more about handling fear. Dipil, is it okay to proceed?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's go on. We don't have any question in the chat also.
All right. The fear factor. Since we are all from exposure to industry, let me say fear is like electricity. Now, electricity is not bad. Electricity is a must. Can you imagine a life without electricity these days? Life comes to a standstill, even the best of units. Even this program will go for a toss if we lose electricity. But yet, people get shocks, people get killed, people get paralyzed. Notwithstanding the fact that even the surgeon and the doctor sometimes give electric shock to a person to set him right. Yet, handling electricity is the basic thing which makes electricity useful. Fear is like electricity. Per se, fear is not bad. But not knowing how to handle fear is the problem. You need it, electricity immensely for survival and progress. Fear also you need it. But if you don't know how to handle it safely, then it hurts you. So how do we handle fear? Again, the example comes from electricity. How do you handle electricity? Insulation. So how do you handle fear? The insulation of hope. So hope is like the insulation that we use on metallic parts that conduct electric current. So how do we develop this insulation? It is a beautiful option for us to protect us from the dangers while we enjoy the benefits of fear. Is fear really bad? Is a question. Have you not performed better sometimes because you had fear? Was fear a fear of failure? Or did you conquer this fear by a particular self-fulfilling prophecy called hope for success? And that is a paradigm shift we need to have. Fear, when insulated with the right dose of hope, converts to caution. Now see the caution in COVID. See the care in COVID. See the diligence in COVID. See the discipline in COVID. And see the compassion in COVID. So caution, care, diligence, discipline, compassion for others is all the start of a beautiful insulation. Fear per se can never be zero. You have to focus your Birbal to use the imagination to see something which you say is unpredictable. Can I have my eyes with my vision? Can I develop? There are 3 types of antibodies which I'm developing today. A, through vaccination. B, through the fact that I have had COVID already and I am one person who has bounced back after COVID. And C is the kind of immunity which I develop with my positivity. And that positivity is called hope. What I'm speaking is research-based. And there is a lot of this with guidance of Mentor Learning, Chennai. You can Google Mentor Learning. It's Chennai-based. And my particular teacher in this, a gentleman called Dasimani. Okay. Hope and fear. Insulate your fears with hope. Don't deny your fears or get overwhelmed by them. Learn to spell and articulate your fear. What is your fear? Give it a label and then reflect on it. Insulate them with hope, love, and faith. These are the emotions which you got connected with because you had a choice when I asked you, how are you feeling? You could have overridingly written, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling hopeless, I'm feeling vulnerable, but you chose. And that choice is the one which even in the Nazi camps, people like Viktor Franklin had to give that piece of bread which the Nazis gave him to survive to a fellow prisoner in the Nazi camp. And that is the power of love and faith. I'm not asking you to become Viktor Franklin. I'm not asking you to become a self-sacrificing person, but I'm asking you to understand yourself better and try and be mindful of the power of the Birbal and not be overridden by the fallacy and the impudence and the immediate rashness of the Natkhat Nandu. While rationality is essential to deal with fear, it is never sufficient. Now here comes your fuel. Rationality is essential to deal with fear. It is never sufficient. What is required is spirituality. Spirituality, why have religions, whether it is Hinduism, Jainism, Islam, Christianity, how have they survived for all these millions and thousands of years? Because of the spiritual aspect of religion. And today, one of the best treatments in handling fear is the power of spirituality, which your generation may not know. Spirituality is not about puja. Spirituality is not about the tilak. Spirituality is not, all these are essential maybe, but they are not sufficient. Spirituality is to getting connected with yourself and your creator, somebody higher than you, and belief built on hope to complete the equation. Yes, only the human beings, like I said, have the Birbal. Animals also, and this is capable of imagination. All organisms, animals, they have their Nandu, including us. So use your imagination to examine your fears with rationality. Insulate it with spirituality. Sprinkle it with mindfulness. Don't ask somebody at home how many chapatis I have eaten. Count your own chapatis. Count your own quantity of rice. Count your own katoris of sambar or rasam. Don't ask your wife how much rasam have I consumed. You should be in charge of your own life now. And that is the power of spirituality, to be mindful of what is happening in my life. Why am I so drifting like a rudderless boat, like a rudderless ship, rudderless canoe? I need to put the anchor, and that anchor is in my hand. And when I do not have an anchor, I perhaps have the fear. I need to seek the help of probability. I talked about this as a concept to bring sanity. Do not wonder about possibility and impossibility. This is a binary function. Ask, can I break the journey into smaller parts? My wife, Neera, has been suggesting to me for the past couple of weeks that she needs to go to Pune. Our dear daughter, who's in Germany, and her husband are there on a project. Their stay has got prolonged, and their flat is lying near Wakad, locked, with the fridge on and the car parked on the ground floor. There are cobwebs perhaps in the mother's heart about the flat of her daughter. She wants to reach there. Now I, as a good husband, have to think whether we should go to Pune or not. We can't say possible or not possible. We have to break the journey into small parts. The journey from here to the airport, from the airport to Pune airport, from Pune airport to Wakad, Wakad to the flat. And we have to see the probability of us keeping ourselves safe at every part of this journey, to keep our social distancing, to keep our sanitation in place. And only then can we say, yes, I think it is possible for us to take a chance. No foolhardiness, no compromise on safety, health, and environment, but yet probability at every factor, at every stage. And that is a major part in my mental health. We thrive when we focus on possibilities and not improbabilities. Probabilities will make possibilities. But if we start saying this is not probable, so go ahead, seize the day, carpe diem, but do it safely. I will take a pause here and ask you for immediate questions about whatever I've spoken so far. Raghu, would you like to come in now? I had cut you short that time. Now is the time for you to speak your out. Raghuvaran Chakravarti. Raghu,
Yeah. Yes.
please go on. Yes, go on with whatever question you might have at this stage.
No, I mean, it's a great presentation. The things that I want to share is, I mean, we are in the phase, like most of them never going to experience like next generation. I would say COVID is an opportunity to learn and move forward, push our life further, because that's the positivity I take. Because my dad and my mom never experienced before. They are on the phase, they're going through this one. They don't have any idea because they cannot give anything. Hey, stay home, take care of your health. But moving forward, I can give that experience to my next generation. Hey, we face something that nobody ever faced, but we overcome that one. This is the challenges we overcome. So take it as a positive and move forward. So I see that COVID is an opportunity to learn that nobody ever going to get another chance. So this is a learning opportunity. Learn everything that you can and move forward. That's the message that I have to share. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Raghu. You created the right word in my mind. Why does a young person not move forward towards learning? There are two things. One is his hard wiring, which takes him into comfort zone. Why take the initiative? Why take this panga? Why should I get into new learning? Why attend this Ganesh program? Why answer his Google form? The second is fear zone, amygdala. Natkhat Nandu. He says, don't ask questions. The colonel will make you laugh. He will make you laughing stock. Don't raise your hand. People are watching you. But when you push these two away, as Generation Z, you have arrived. You realize, very old song in my time, Bon Jovi song, it's my life. It's my life. And you push the comfort zone, you push the fear zone, and you arrive into what is called the learning zone. So what Raghu says is, take a deep dive into learning zone. The learning zone which exists today never existed before. And who is the best teacher? You yourself, Aham Brahm. And you cannot be a better teacher than the adverse circumstances. Shri Shri talked about a story in the Times of India central page just 3 days back. He said a couple of frogs were going, and 2 frogs fell into a very deep hole. It was a very narrow hole and very deep hole. And it was almost going into infinity, it looked like. All the frogs looked down and they felt sorry for the 2 frogs. And they said, oh my God, these 2 friends of ours, we are losing them now forever. They are going to die. So one frog just gave up. He just killed himself to death by being overwhelmed by what he heard. The second frog kept on trying and came out. And when he came out, the truth was revealed that he was deaf. He could not hear what his friends had told about him. So sometimes COVID is making you an opportunity of being deaf to all these WhatsApp forwards, to all the rumors, all the gossip, and you take charge of yourself. You take charge of your own body parameters. You take charge of your self-discipline. And you become a stronger person. They say the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. That's the army principle. The more you are careful in COVID, the same self-discipline will make you a thriving leader in industry when there is no COVID. And those who are not sweating now in COVID are actually going to perish post-COVID. You may not perish during COVID, but you will perish because of your lack of learning post-COVID. Thank you, Raghu. And any more questions? Yes, any more questions anybody has at this stage? Anybody wants to come in? I'm giving you an opportunity. This is almost mid-time of the call, and I'm inviting questions in the middle because I have covered in the last about 45 minutes a complete aspect of the brain, the amygdala, Natkhat Nandu, the new cortex, the wise Birbal, the hardwiring, what is learning and how knowledge is different from learning, and the power of the 3 aspects of insights, processes, and experience. When a person of my age dives into the Rhine River in Switzerland, he wants to get a new experience. When a person like me goes to Vietnam and flies over the sea in sea diving, it's a new experience. Yes, my fear zone is there. My wife is telling me, look at your age. What are you trying? My son is saying, Papa, given, clap. No, you don't go. Please don't go. We know you are very brave. But I say, no, it is not to prove to you. It is to make my Birbal undergo a new experience so that my Birbal can tell my new cortex, tell my amygdala, whenever it is trying to scare me, shut up. I'm in charge. Any more? If there are none, then let us move forward. Ganesh, you want to say something?
So, Colonel, I would like to, there are 2 questions, one by Ashish and one by Pramod. So, Ashish, can you unmute and talk, please? Rather than I'm reading out from the chat, it would be good to have that in interaction. Ashish, would you like to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead. Thanks.
Yes, Ashish.
Colonel, while you're talking, so Colonel, while you're talking about the emotions, and emotions always influence on your actions, that I learned from your what you are talking about and speaking about these things. But how to control on the emotions in a difficult situation, and when personally you are going through some personal trauma and emergencies?
Very true, Ashish. It's not easy. First of all, I must admit, I thank you for a question which is very realistic question. And I can tell you one thing, it is not easy. In Hindi, we say, "Jis pe beetती hai, wahi janta hai." कहने में और करने में बहुत फर्क है, कथनी और करने में बहुत फर्क है. I admit all this, sir. But I take you to a very basic skill like driving. So, if you are a very good driver, first of all, it has not happened overnight. It has required insights, processes, and experiences. And driving before you drive on the highway or in the marketplace, you practice on the ground till you develop the confidence. So you develop the confidence. You have gone into the market after wonderful driving license. You have never had a challan, a police report for the last many years, and now somebody hits your car. What do? You feel bad, but you don't stop driving. You become more careful. And that's all. Every tragedy, every setback, every mishap is a reality. And a reality is like a mishap happening in other parts. Maybe to much lesser extent, a personal tragedy to a much greater extent. The unreasonableness of the situation gives you an opportunity for you to be more reasonable. And that is where the hardwiring needs to be changed. And that is why these young people are organizing mental health webinars, where mental health means your Birbal takes stock of your emotions. Why is it that some people are calm? I sold cars, the maximum cars on a day, 72. On a Friday, when the previous day my mother expired, because to my mind, that was the best tribute I could pay to my mother. Maruti buyers are first-time buyers. They come with their photographs, everything. I'm talking of 1999. That time Maruti buying was a big thing. People would come. Why should I punish those people who have taken leave to take a delivery of their first car just because I have lost my mother? My Birbal said, no, she was of old age. She had to go. Give her the honor of feeling proud of a son who says the show must go on. Ashish, I leave you with this thought. Any more questions or you are not satisfied? Ashish Deshmukh, please. Ashish, are you with me?
Yeah, he's on mute, Colonel.
All right, never mind.
Yeah.
There was another question on the chat.
Pramod, unmute and talk, please.
Yeah, sir. My question is, which activities students should perform to start living a spiritual life?
Oh, very good question. See, first of all, do some reading. I'm not asking you to read books, etc. I'm asking you to read a very simple HBR called Don't Manage Your Time, Manage Your Energy. That you have to first start managing your energy. What time do I sleep? What do I get up? Can I afford to sleep when the Surya Devta is up and about? Then I'm fighting the biological cycle of the whole universe. The universe has set day and night for me. So first of all, fix your sleeping hours. That's the first thing. And start in the morning by just being mindful. We will talk about it in a little later to addictions. But at least no electronics, 30 minutes, only 30 minutes before sleeping and 30 minutes after getting up. No electronics. This is my personal advice. One article to read and fix your sleeping time, getting time. Start off with the practice. Don't be governed by Facebook, tagging somebody and govern somebody. Nothing is wrong with Facebook. Huh? I will be talking about it very soon. I'm going to show you a video also. Pramod, I hope I've given you some answer. Pramod?
Yeah, definitely, sir. It will help.
Don't worry. We'll come to this in little more detail. Okay. Since there are no more questions, let me ask you a question. And I asked you a question through Mentipoll. So let me share my slide and ask you a Mentipoll, which you will see again. and I share again my presentation, and here we are. So can you see my slide, Dipil?
Yes, Colonel, it's appearing. Yes,
So
it is
let's
there.
be honest now. I want each one of you to now start off being honest to this Colonel whom you have known at least for 1 hour now. And that is, what is your addiction as of today? Be honest. Don't say, I have no addiction. There is some addiction, something which you love to do, but there is no reason why you love to do. So you have to give the answer in a poll. Again, participate like earlier, www.menti.com, or Dip is going to put this in your chat, the link. Code is 18635038, and you have to also, you can scan the QR code and answer the question, what is your topmost addiction as of today? The question is in first person, what is my addiction, when it appears on your own screen.
Let's give 1 minute time, Colonel, then we will display the results in a go. So let all of them participate.
Yeah.
We have around 29 people in the call, so please try to participate. Be honest and come up with your answer.
Colonel, if you have a 1 minute or two, I'd like to add something for the things that you are doing.
Go ahead.
As we were talking about spirituality, I just got remembered what Krishna has to say about this in Bhagavad Gita, about our mind, how to, how it deals with us and all. Yeah, I think in 6th chapter he says, it is very hard to control. In 635 he says, it's very difficult to control the restless mind, but it is possible to control by constant practice and by constant detachment.
That's it. The detachment is changing your hardwiring, and practice is what we said, new insight, process, and experience. Same thing, what we are saying today. Thank you so much for reminding us. So let's quickly go and see the answers to our poll. So
just refresh, Colonel. 12 people already participated.
Good. So let us see what it is like. 12, 13 people have already answered. So let us see the cloud of addictions in this group. So what are the addictions? What is my biggest addiction? Oh, there it is. Social media and porn. Thank you for being so honest. Check messages or mail, watching YouTube, Instagram, fictional books, people using phone, mobile content consumption, phone, sleeping, smoking. Wonderful. Let's hear some more people.
Still the count is 13 only.
Oh, 13 only?
Yes.
Never mind. So even if you have not written it, somewhere you have an addiction. Maybe somebody has written smoking, but otherwise, addiction in the younger generation are much beyond this smoking, drinking, drugs. These are very infamous addictions. We are not talking of them, friends. We are talking of social media, Instagram, watching YouTube, using phone every now and then, mobile content consumption. These are some realistic addictions. Now, the question is, why do we have addictions? Before we go into addictions, we have to go into our prioritization of doing things. Why do we do and when do we do what we do? So, if we have to come to addiction, we have to come to the fact that where do we get pushed into a stage where we pick up an addiction? So I'll take you back to a very famous name called Eisenhower. Eisenhower was the commander-in-chief of the Allied forces in their victory over Nazis when the World War II ended. He led the American army in the victory march in the Second World War. After the Second World War, he became the commander-in-chief of the NATO forces, checked the advent of communism, And then he stood for elections in the US and was successful president of the United States of America, not for just one term, but for 2 terms. So a successful leader in war and in peace, yet found time always to play golf and always found time to make some oil paintings. He followed a matrix, which is sometimes called time management matrix. It's also called. So the question which he is asking you is, where are you spending your time and where should you be? So the basis of prioritization is urgent and not urgent, important and not important. So the matrix consists of these 4 quadrants, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. There are issues which are urgent and important. There are issues which are not urgent and important, quadrant 2. There are issues which are urgent but not important, Q3. And there are issues which are Q4. Now, how is this connected to addiction? How is this connection to another stepping stone to addiction, that is called procrastination? So I'll give you examples. What comes in Q1? Urgent and important is crisis, pressing problems, putting out fires, deadline-driven projects. This is inevitable. This is happening in everybody's life. Quadrant 3, which is urgent and not important, is responding to interruptions, some emails, some phone calls, some meetings because of others. This is called other people's priorities, OPP. Now comes quadrant 4, which is neither urgent nor important. Here lies procrastination. Here lies trivia. Trivia means those computer games, social media, forwards, emails, SMSs, and WhatsApp, endless selfies, some phone calls, and time wasters. So these are time wasters. We'll come to it. Why do we get into it? And now comes the most powerful aspect of Q2. Not urgent, but important. This is called prevention. In safety, health, and environment, prevention is better than cure. Firefighting practice has to excel the quality of firefighting. Capability improvement, relationship building, planning, recognizing new opportunities. This training is a quadrant 2 activity that you are doing today. People who are leaving because of either Q1 or Q3. And people who are here but not listening are in Q4. Any immediate questions on these 4 quadrants? So now the question is, why do we go into procrastination? So guys, you will all understand that we are stressed. And when we don't know how to handle stress, we create something called stress busters. Pramod, I hope you are listening. Stress busters. Now, stress busters is, let me have a cigarette. Let me have coffee. Let me check my WhatsApp. Let me have a selfie. This is fair enough. But when we do not know how to draw a Lakshman Rekha, a boundary line between stress buster and time wasters, we get carried away to time wasters. And when we go into time wasters, we remain in time wasters and we begin what is called procrastination. Procrastination is management by postponement. So procrastination is the stepping stone to addictions. And time wasters are the stepping stone to procrastination. So how do you improve your time management? Drop, develop, do, and delegate. Ask someone else to handle the interruptions. For attending details of this, you will have to attend another session with me. This was just to give you an idea of your prioritization so that you get to know what is procrastination, what is stress buster, and what is time wasters. Managing procrastination. Now, what is meant by procrastination? Procrastination means management by postponement. There is a Hindi quotation which says, "Aaj kare so kaal kare so parson. Itni jaldi kya padi hai, jab jeena hai barson." Whatever you have to do today, do it tomorrow. Whatever you have to do tomorrow, do it the day after. What is the hurry? Gai kasni. Such a long life is left. This attitude, actually, we tend to put off things. Which are the things we tend to put off? Three kinds of things. Things those are unpleasant, as per our thinking. Number two, things that are difficult, as per our thinking. And things that involve tough decisions, as per our thinking. We hate to take decisions because amygdala says, oh, remain in your comfort zone. Why are you taking panga? When we hate to do difficult things because fear zone says, no. And we hate to do unpleasant things because we feel we will not be liked. We will become unpopular. So we tend to put off. And this putting off is giving way to procrastination. You put off getting up from bed. And your mother or someone at home says, what are you doing? You say, I'm thinking. And she tells your father, look, our son is a great thinker. Actually, you are not thinking. You are procrastinating. And procrastination is running your imagination without an objective. You are just breathing and not even living. Now, what do? So you need to understand, when we don't want to do something, we will always putter around with little things. We will show, yes, we are busy. We will pass our time with small things. We try to keep busy that we have an excuse that will ease our guilt. It will clear our conscience that we are busy doing something. Now, these are signs of procrastination. The task never disappears. Postponing only makes it worse. What you are postponing, if you have to submit a presentation in these days, if you have to submit a project while working from your home, some of you are students, many of you are students. And if you don't do it now, the criticality of that particular submission will become higher. And the difficulty of doing it to a great quality will become higher. So do it now. And that is what is not the approach. Anxiety nags at you and you are likely to get irritable. Now, when somebody is telling you a normal thing, you are becoming irritated because you have landed up in a mess, because you always thought there is a lot of time. Preventive action. Change your do it later habit into do it now urge. Do it later habit into do it now urge. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that single step is mine, and I have to take it right now. If you keep waiting for all lights to turn green before you leave home, you will never leave home. Some people keep getting ready to get ready, but never get ready. I think, are you that type? Getting ready to get ready, but never get ready? Time has come. Achieving life balance habit requires positive action. If you want to achieve work-life balance, like Pramod asked me, sir, what should a young person do? He has to have balance. He has to see how much time I'm devoting in each quadrant and which should be my biggest quadrant. Don't defend your procrastination habits. Don't justify your laziness. Change them instead. Face it. The most valuable thing you can do when you're procrastinating is to admit it. Admit it, I am lazy. I have the habit. If to nobody else, at least admit it to the mirror on the wall in the bathroom. Go and tell that mirror, I think I am lazy. It will sound very meaningful to your ears. Don't do the toughest jobs first. Put the big stones first. Stephen Covey's video, type on Google, big rocks first, and you'll get a very simple video. Do the toughest jobs first. Because the toughest jobs, if postponed, are never got done. Easy jobs are part of procrastination. Tackle unpleasant tasks in small pieces and short time segments. The story of the rabbit eating the elephant. 3 questions, very important questions that you must ask yourself. Number 1, what are the ways in which you procrastinate? Make a note of them. Write an action plan. Make a learning journal. Journaling is very important. How does it impact your life, stress, and performance? How does procrastinate impact my life, my stress, and my performance? In what ways can you immediately avoid procrastination? Write an action plan. Do this in writing. Mix anything which is done for 28 days becomes a habit. So you got to break some habits over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Start from tomorrow morning itself. Sunday is a very good time for reflection. Talking of addiction, first of all, a chronic dysfunction of the brain systems the sequence was wrong. A chronic dysfunction of the brain system that involves reward, motivation, and memory. Now, you want a very good memory. You want a very good motivation. You want a very good reward. So sometimes you do the wrong things and try to get the reward. The body starts craving for a substance or a behavior. Now, this is addiction. When your body is craving for something, craving for a like on the Facebook, craving for a views of your status, it causes an obsessive pursuit of reward and lack of concern over consequences. Now, this is what is very important to Generation Z, your generation. Technology addiction refers to the uncontrollable urge or impulse to continue using technology to the point that it starts to interfere with your individual mental, physical, and social life. You are so much into WhatsApp that you are not talking to your parents who are watching you over a meal. This can be in forms of social media, internet surfing, video gaming, online gambling, and other related acts. It is also called internet addiction. Now, why do we do it? Why do people smoke? Why do people drink? All smoking, drinking, and any addiction starts with experimentation. And most of it starts at a very early age, where you do it because your peers are asking you, somebody thinks you look smart, and you want to look smart and handsome. But after some time, it gives you a kick, and that is called dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone which is released in you when you do something which you love. Somebody gives you a compliment, you get dopamine. But dopamine is very addictive. And just like a cigarette and a drink is addictive, similarly, the likes and the forwards on social media, on all the media that you are, your status is also giving you dopamine, and it's very addictive. So I'm going to take you to a very dear speaker called Simon Sinek.
Colonel, you go on mute. You have to unmute yourself. You are on mute, Colonel. You have to unmute yourself.
I removed my headphones, so I became on mute. I apologize for that.
Now it's fine.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's fine. Go on.
All right. So Simon Sinek is a guy who's written 2 very famous books, and I recommend if you can get hold of the book summaries, at least you can go through book summaries. One is called Start with Why. It is not what you do. It's not how you do. It's why you do. Plenty of videos. Follow him. Second book is Why Leaders Eat Last. But today I'm going to take you to his talk. The voice is his, the pictures are not his, the pictures are just depictive. He's talking about addiction in your generation. And what is it, why is it, and how you can prevent it. I was trying to squeeze that video with Vipul's help, but I couldn't do it very successfully. But still, let me see if whatever I've done. So let me quickly put that on for you. And I know I'm aware of the fact that time is a little short. Vipul, my screen visible?
Yes, Colonel. All good. Yeah.
I mean, the technology is great. You know, it's lots of fun, very helpful, makes a lot of things easy. But like anything in the world, there is too much of a good thing, you know? And I think one of the things we don't talk about is what is the balance in technology in our lives. And I would argue that for many of us, it's out of balance. We know that the chemical dopamine is released whenever we get a bing, buzz, flash, or beep from our phone or email, right? So dopamine is the exact same chemical that's released in alcohol, nicotine, and gambling, right? In other words, it can be addictive if left unbalanced. A little alcohol is great. Too much alcohol, not so great. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling, really bad, right? Technology is wonderful. Too much technology can be very destructive and destroy our relationships, like all addictions destroy our relationships, right? And so one of the things we're not considering is what is the right balance. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to your spouse, that's a problem, right? If you have phantom beeps, that's a problem. That comes from something, right? If you find yourself incapable of getting through a day without needing to check, that's a problem, right? Now, where it gets really dangerous is with kids, millennials. Some of them aren't kids anymore. So almost all alcoholics on the planet discovered alcohol when they were children. When we're very, very young, the only thing we need is the approval of our parents. Right? When we go through adolescence, we now need approval from our peers. Frustrating for our parents, very important for us because it allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the larger group, right? Very stressful time, and we're supposed to learn in this time of anxiety to rely on our friends, to reach out to our friends for help. That's what we're supposed to learn. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol, and then they learn the numbing effects of dopamine actually help them get through the stress of adolescence. This connection, unfortunately, becomes hardwired. And so for the rest of their lives, when they face any kind of financial, career, or social stress, they don't turn to a person, they turn to the bottle, right? Now, we have age restrictions on alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling, because we know that an immature mind is not yet strong enough or mature enough to deal with the powers of these addicting chemicals, these addictive chemicals, right? So we put an age limit. We have no such age limit or age restriction on social media or cell phones, right? So ostensibly what we've done is we've thrown open the liquor cabinet and we've said to our adolescents, hey, I know this whole adolescent thing is really stressful, so here's the vodka, take as much as you need. That's basically what we've done. And so what we have is an entire generation that's growing up addicted. And like all addicts, they haven't learned the skill set of when they suffer stress to turn to a person. What they do is they turn to the device. And what that only does is increase senses of isolation and loneliness and can actually destroy relationships. We've all had the experience where you're with somebody walking down the street in a meeting, out for dinner, whatever, and they pull out their phone and you feel like an idiot, right? Or when you're talking to them and they're going, and you're sort of like, what's the point of this? Now take an entire generation that has no memory of a time before the device. We at least can reference times before cell phones and internet and social media. We at least have a point of reference. They don't. So this is their normal, but that's how they feel. So you have an entire generation growing up with addiction and an increased sense of loneliness and isolation. We're already seeing the results. We're seeing increased rates of suicide amongst this generation. We're seeing increased rates of accidental deaths due to overdoses amongst this generation. We're seeing increased numbers of mass homicides, largely performed by this generation. School shootings, over 70% perpetrated by kids born after the year 1984. Schools, universities are now dealing with numbers they've never dealt with before of kids requesting leaves of absence due to depression. We're already seeing it, right? We're seeing the effects of loneliness and isolation. We're seeing it, and yet we're not reacting to it. We're not doing anything about it, right? And parents are a lot to blame for this. Because parents, there are some schools who want to restrict phones in schools, and it's the parents who demand that they keep their phones in case of emergencies. Seriously? Seriously? When was the last time the cell phone was used for an emergency? What time are you coming home? What time should we pick you up? And if there is an emergency, you call the office and they know what classroom the kid's in. And in 5 minutes, they'll bring the kid to talk to you on the phone. Like the old way worked just fine. Remember we talked before about innovation. It has to solve a real human problem. What human problem exactly did we solve by compressing 5-minute time frame? We added to the problem, we didn't solve it. So that's one huge problem. So combine that with the fact you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed because they're happy and they're star athletes, right? You'd have no clue because they're really good. So when we say silly things like, my door is always open, you're assuming they have the courage to come in. Combined with the fact that they're subject largely, not all, but too many, to a failed parenting strategy. Because their parents told them they were special, they could have anything they wanted, they could be anything they want. They got medals for coming in last, which by the way we know doesn't work. It devalues the medal for the one who comes in first and the one who came in last. It makes them feel stupid because they know they didn't deserve it, right? The kids got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because the parents complained. And some of them got good grades not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. And then the kids graduate college, they get a job, and in an instant, they find out they're not special. They don't get anything for coming in last. Their parents can't get them a promotion, and you can't have whatever you want just because you want it. And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-confidence than previous generations. So you have lower self-confidence than previous generations, combined with an inability to ask for help with things that you're struggling with, and you turn to social media or a device, you keep checking, you count your likes, you count your likes, you count your followers, you count your followers. And if somebody unfriends you, oh my God, it's trauma, right? The way they break up with each other is they just ghost each other, just cut each other out and stop returning texts and returning phone calls because they don't have the skill set to say, hey, it's not working out. It's not me, it's you, right? There's no closure on things, right? Combined with the fact there's an institutionalized impatience. So they've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to get in touch with someone, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait 4 hours for them to get the message, you just text them and they get back to you immediately. You want to watch a movie, you just log on and watch it. You don't have to check movie times, right? Everything happens instantly. You want to get a date, swipe right. You don't even have to muster up the courage to go and be like, hey, you don't have to. There you go, got a date, right? And so the problem is, they're accused of being entitled. I don't think they're entitled at all. Not at all. I think they're impatient. I keep meeting these fantastic, smart, driven, ambitious, idealistic, fantastic kids who graduated school, they got a job, they want to make an impact in the world. I go up to them and say, how's it going? And they say, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. And it's as if they see the summit of a mountain. It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain. They can see the summit. They can see the thing they want to make an impact. What they don't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. You can go up fast. You can go up slow. I don't care. But there's still a mountain. What they don't understand is that life, that relationships, and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You've got to go through the slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life. But if they don't get it in 8 months, they go look for it somewhere else. They don't get it, they go look for it. It's impatience. And because they don't have the skill set to ask for help, and because they feel lonely, it compounds and compounds. So then we dump them in office environments that are built on theories from the 80s and 90s that prioritizes a number before a person, and no one really cares about their confidence and their personal growth. They're just numbers on a spreadsheet. And so they enter work cultures that don't help them. And the problem is they're entering the workforce.
So in the last few minutes, I've tried to show you this video, which has tried to give you a very hard reality of your life. It is no fault of yours, but it is a reality which you have to face. What's the solution? Solution perhaps is when you are stressed and you have fear. Get to someone and not to something. Don't reach out for a phone, reach out for a person. Develop a resource in terms of someone who's dependable, who's talkable. That resource could be you yourself. So the 3 zones that I've talked about during COVID-19, post-COVID-19, fear zone, forwarding all messages that I receive, anger, fear, learning zone. I start to give up what I can't control, identify my emotions. I become aware of the situation and think of how to act. But what is very beautiful is the growth zone. Develop your own growth zone. Try to thank and appreciate others. Be empathetic with yourself and with others. Live in the present and focus on the future. Make my talents available to those who need them, like Ganesh and his team have done. They have a talent. They have brought their talent to the forefront. They have used technology to the advantage of this whole group. I think of others and see how to help them. I keep a happy emotional state and spread hope. I look for a new way to adapt to new changes. I practice quietude. I don't have to always be active. Can I be still for some time? Can I have patience and think of relationships and creativity? These are some thoughts, not going to be easy. And reach out. You want to talk about your fears? I'm around. I have huge supplies of hope, and you know where to reach me. Our contacts, both mine, Colonel Amar Bindra and Dipil Kumar Vasu, the last word on safety, the last word on sustainability, the most qualified person in Team Tech. You could follow us. I have a YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. And our mobile numbers are also our WhatsApp numbers. So you could take a screenshot of this with this. I thank you all and invite your questions. And over to, I apologize for a little bit of delay. It is just 5:31 now, and we are still to have some questions. So here we are, we stop sharing. And over to first Dipil and then Ganesh. Yeah.
Thanks, Colonel. That was wonderful. I hope the participants get a lot of inputs and takeaways. Really appreciate, as always, you try to generate that value and share that value with the people who's around us. So really appreciate. So before I hand over to the other team members, I have a question, Colonel, on my personal life. One of the points which you said that before going to bed, keep the mobiles away at least 30 minutes before. So on that particular point, what I'm doing these days, I switch off my data, and then I open my Amazon Kindle and I start reading a book. Okay. And by the time my eyes goes off, I just keep the mobile aside and go to bed. So what do you think about this habit?
I've seen a great change in you. Your sleep, you know it. I got after your blood to make sure your sleeping cycle changes.
Wonderful.
And so whatever you decide for yourself, whatever works for you, works for you.
Wonderful.
I'm not here to give a prescription.
Wonderful.
I only want you to become more mindful. You can't say, I didn't realize it was happening in my life.
Yeah.
Like I gave you the example, you can't ask your wife how much rice I have eaten, how many chapatis I have eaten. You have to be accountable for the number of pegs you have taken in the bar. This applies to me. I can't ask the barman how much I have consumed.
Yeah.
I have to be mindful of everything I do. I have to be first mindful of my 5 senses, the sounds I'm hearing, the smells that I'm getting, the taste I'm having, the things I'm touching, and the things I'm seeing. How can I look at people and say, I didn't notice you? That's the worst thing you can do with people. In a room you enter and after some time, sorry, I did it in the call today. I said, sorry, I didn't notice you. I did that to Ame. That's not forgivable. I hope I have answered your question, Dipin.
Wonderful. Thanks, Colonel. And thanks, Ganesh and Pramod for organizing this event. And over to you, Ganesh, and other people if you have any questions. Yeah, Ganesh.
Yes, sir. So I'm speechless right now because there was a lot to grasp in this short time, but that's how the things should be done. Yeah, that was this is gonna leave a lot of impact in my life. I don't know about others, but for me, it's very. It was a great learning opportunity for me.
Great, thanks. Anyone else? Any questions? Please feel free to.
Sir, there was one in the chat
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
by Mr. Ashish Deshmukh. How do you differentiate being spiritual and being religious?
Oh, very good question. Very good, Ashish Deshmukh. So, I'm not too sure what I can tell you, but I can sort of tell you what works for me. I'm supposed to be a Sikh. You know, when I went to NDA, it was very difficult to tie the turban, and so many of us cut off our hair and all that. So why did I keep the hair? Why did I keep the beard when it was not possible? Why did I not? Because actually, Ashish, I believed somewhere, my amygdala told me, if I cut my hair, my mother will die. Actually, a 16-year-old guy who had never gone out of his hometown, who forged his father's signature to join NDA, actually believed that. And that is the own meaning of spirituality. When religion becomes a means for spirituality. When Ganpati is not for the Ganpati of the grandeur, Ganpati is for taking the evils away with the immersion of the Lord. And the arrival of the Lord Ganpati is not about the religion of the festival. It is about the festivities of the joy of the arrival of Ganpati to take the sorrows away, the evils away, the ill will in me away. And he has arrived to take it. And that is what is spirituality. I hope I've answered your question, Ashish.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Mr. Sudhir is laughing. So do you want to share any thoughts, Sudhir? If not, a question. So Colonel Sudhir is also one of the, the team member with whom I am working very closely these days.
Okay.
So Sudhir, you can unmute yourself and please go ahead.
Only one thing, Colonel, is, the only difference is I am not wearing the Team Tech shirt. Frankly speaking, the first half was very tough for me, but the second half procrastination was, I could correlate with myself, but the first half really was tough for me. I don't know how, but it was tough for me, to be very honest. But okay, that is a learning for me, that I need to know something more about that area. So I'll start reading. That's
great.
Dipil, I could only notice today that because otherwise previously I used to see almost 24 hours online. You know that. I told you also many times on that. But then now I can see, in the night you don't look online. So that's
I completely switch off the data. Then only I can do nowadays some work. Colonel, this is something which I personally do. I just switch off the data, and I even sometimes close my Outlook when I'm doing something very important on my computer. Otherwise, a lot of distractions comes and work never goes, never progress. So that is something which I start doing it. But yeah, so this is personal share.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
So before Dipil or Ganesh and Colonel Amar make a final conclusion of this entire discussion, I just want to share some of the insights. Actually, in last 15 minutes during this pandemic time, the mental health becomes a buzzword. Okay, and most of the people and the professional now understanding the importance about mental health.
Yeah.
So the message which I grabbed in last 15 months, and absolutely from this talk also, was very insightful. Thank you very much, Colonel Amar, that it's a time to talk. And unlike the Western countries, in India, actually, we are not even able to realize and identify the mental health issues because we hesitate, and the cultural things are there, some pressures are there. So we are not able to even talk about these kind of depressions and the problems openly with the things. So we need to conduct such kind of discussions and the talks time to time. I'm a certified mental health first aider. So from the that I completed from the MHFA England, and during those discussions, I come to learn, and I was discussing about and giving some of the insight that in India is still the problem is not is underestimated. Now, because of the pandemic, now at least we are talking about. But forget about in the social media and the things, even in the family members and within the family, people not talking about most of the mental issues. We always think about other things. We really don't know what is the meaning of depression and kind of things. So, Ganesh, Dipil, Colonel Bindra, thank you very much for bringing these kind of issues. I think we need to repeat these kind of things. It's absolutely a time to talk now on these kind of things. Otherwise, we will lose some of the great talent and the great people of this nation. This is the really need for time, and we need to focus on these kind of things. That's my just one input and observations from this kind of talks. Thank you very much for these insightful thoughts and coordinating this kind of event.
Great. Colonel, any thoughts on what Ashish said?
No, Ashish has really given me an insight to work on for my own personal agenda. Yes, he says, why don't we start talking about it? Yes, the model which I propagate is called PTT, preparation, timing, and tone. And you should go into conversations with preparation. Again, like I said, be mindful. I've written an article which is available there on my LinkedIn profile. It's called PTT. It's got a hyperlink also, which talks about getting into conversations with people with mindfulness, preparation, and seeing the timing of it. Is it appropriate as per the other person's acceptability? And then the tone. The tone evokes the amygdala of the other person, the Natkat Nandu of the other person. So I can make my Birbal powerful only by the power of PTT. And this is my thought. And I think the young people here are very lucky that they have amongst them such leaders like Ganesh and Pramod, who can take the initiative, get out of their comfort zone and not put off by their fear zone and create a learning zone. I personally am very indebted. I learned a lot with whatever insights I got. I will do some more reading for Sudhir on terms of the first part of the program. And maybe I will give this greater example of electricity and insulation. And that's all. Thank you all so much. So nice to have you all here. Jai Hind from this Colonel. Have a great evening and a great time ahead.
So before we are closing, just want to, as Ashish share these inputs. We have ISO 45001, which is the first international standard on mental health in the workplace. And that has a lot of inputs one can take away. So, and this particular standard, considering the COVID-19 times, the International Standard Organization made it us, International Organization for Standardization made it us free of cost and available for the public to read. So you can just go through it, and it has wonderful insights. And another thing which is currently going on, this MyGov, my government, an initiative of Government of India, they have come up with the 30 days, 30 tasks, which is helping a person to improve the mental well-being. So today, I think the 14th day is going on, and they are releasing every day one poster. So it is always a good thing, In fact, I'm saying I bring back my reading habit by seeing that. One of the days, I think 4th or 5th day's task was, try to read a book, at least 10 pages of a book before you sleep today. I was like, when I read a book last time, and it was like, wow, more than a year. Then I quickly restarted that, So maybe we are, every one of us has our own agenda. We are busy in our own things, some students studying and those kind of academic activities, professionals being in their own, busy in their own professional life. So try to do something which, and it is really helping me a lot. Otherwise, it was tough for me. So yeah, that's a final thoughts from my end. And once again, thank you very much, Ganesh, Pramod, and Colonel Bindra, and all of you for joining this event. And have a nice evening, and looking forward to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.